Before an athlete ever sets foot on the track, they must navigate a world defined by invisible boundaries. For many individuals with intellectual disabilities, everyday life is structured around what society assumes they cannot do. We can think of this starting state as a baseline of isolation. This measures the specific distance between an individual's true capability and the restricted opportunities society offers them. It is a state like a sparrow with broken wings, where the limitation is defined by the restricted space allowed for flight. This chart shows exactly how that illusion functions in practice. When you measure a person's actual potential against the limits imposed by others, you find a massive deficit. That heavy block pressing down on the data, the illusion, acts as a psychological weight. It actively suppresses a person's physical and mental output long before they reach the starting line. As the athletes arrive at the venue, the primary opponent waiting for them is not the runner in the next lane. The true obstacle is the accumulated weight of those internalized limits. We would like everybody in the stands to stand up and help officially declare the 2024 Special Olympics Massachusetts Summer Games open. Those words act as a psychological trigger. They rewrite the rules of the environment for the duration of the games. In a single moment, an arena built on societal expectations is replaced by a space engineered for absolute possibility. Look at this timeline graphing the athlete's psychological state. The flat gray baseline represents everyday isolation. At the exact moment of the declaration, the line spikes. The environment flips from restriction to potential. Stepping through this threshold introduces a new standard for what the athlete expects from their surroundings. This shift in the landscape makes the old, restricted baseline feel insufficient. To understand how that spike in potential is maintained, we have to look at the infrastructure of the games. Thousands of family members, volunteers, and fans fill the stands, creating a highly specialized, localized community. This community operates as a psychological safety net. It is a controlled environment where the usual risks of public failure or external judgment are neutralized by design. This diagram maps how that safety net functions. The outer rings represent the macro environment, the crowd and volunteers, directing their focus inward. They act as a circle floating around the individual athlete in the center, feeding them energy and keeping them secure. Because those inward arrows form a protective barrier against negativity, the athlete is tied to a secure rope. They can discard the fear of falling, and as a result, the central node expands its output without hesitation. Athletes achieve high levels of physical exertion and take competitive risks because the community provides a guaranteed psychological safety net for the duration of the event. We see this mental shift manifest physically the second the starting gun fires. Instantly, the energy generated by the crowd is converted into kinetic motion, with athletes exploding off the blocks. The athletes operate on a principle of reflection. They absorb the unyielding belief radiating from the stands and reflect it right back outward in the form of athletic performance. When a runner hits a wall of fatigue, or when mental obstacles arise, the expanded mindset takes over. The external support has already adjusted their internal dialogue, allowing them to push directly through the difficulty. This scatter plot tracks physical output over the duration of an event. Watch what happens at the red dotted line, representing the expected maximum. The cluster of data points crosses that threshold. The athletes reach velocities and distances that outpace standard expectations. The competitive stage serves as a real-time, public demonstration that previous limitations were merely perceived, not actual. Once the race is run and the scores are tallied, a secondary psychological phase begins. The intense pressure of the competition falls away, and the athletes are cut loose from the anxieties that held them down earlier in the week. The event's massive infrastructure provides the runway, but it is entirely up to the athlete's own agency to decide to spread their wings and apply that momentum to their own lives. The skills and confidence developed within the stadium provide a repeatable model for self-reliance. This experience serves as a clear reference point the athlete can use when they face the old baseline isolation in the real world. The true prize of the weekend is the expansion of an athlete's comfort zone. They leave with physical proof of their own capability that they can carry back into their daily routines. Traditional sports operate on a model where victory is defined by a single person taking first place. The Special Olympics relies on a structure that focuses on the individual's progress against their own limits. This model shows a visual representation of self-actualized victory. It tips the scale away from the need for external validation. Instead, it places the weight on achieving an internal triumph over those initial psychological barriers. It requires significant self-awareness to look at your own effort and confidently declare, "I am the winner of the day," regardless of placement. This declaration is a recognition of the hard-earned evidence they generated on the field. The 2024 Summer Games do not simply hand out medals. By providing the environment for physical success, they help the athlete forge a new internal identity. They leave not just with hardware, but with the memory of a victory they defined for themselves.